Here he comes, Bruno Fernandes. Oh, it's sensational!
Monday night under the lights at Old Trafford, 8 goals, 8 different goal scorers, 2 mid table Premier League teams. I mean, it just felt like the prime Barclaysmen of old took the field today to produce an absolute Premier League classic. Manchester United 4, Bournemouth 4 at Old Trafford. And don't get me wrong, I'm quite disappointed with the result. It was absolutely not what we expected after the first half showing. But I mean, at the end of the day, when you go to a circus, you expect to be entertained. And are you not entertained after that? Today was, I mean, I suppose fluidity has to be the name of the game because United started off really well. I mean, it honestly looked like they were dominating every single move. They were pressing hard. They managed to win the ball back so many times in the first half. They had like 17 shots in the first half, which is I think more than what they managed in any other game this season. I mean, this was their most dominant display attacking wise for sure, but the defense was just as poor. I mean, Bournemouth did not have any significant chance until they suddenly had like two great chances in the first half and they scored from like one of them. I'm not even going to go into whether the formation was a back three or a back four or like whatever it was because at one point after Shesko came on, we were literally playing a 4-4-2, which was probably the most dominant that we were attacking wise in the entire game. Shesko looked a little wobbly. He had a couple of those runs where he had absolutely no idea where he was going, but he did have the ball and green grass ahead of him. He was caught down by the Bournemouth defenders quite easily. But on the other hand, Matthias Cunha was excellent today. His finishing has taken a hit for sure. There were a few shots that went awry, which in a way contributed to the 17 shots that Man United had only in the first. Today, he scored what was the decisive goal, as all of us thought, until again, Bournemouth just somehow found a way to come into the game.
Over into the penalty area, looks to get across away. Matthias Cunha! And the strip
Full points to him for the effort he was running, he was sprinting, he was actually more than anything getting the ball back for United so often, just as often as Fernandes. Both of them were, I think, my top players on the pitch for United. Mbumo, who's unfortunately departing from the next, obviously from the next game onwards, had quite a bad game. I'm not gonna lie, I think he had two decent chances. A beautiful ball that he obviously took on the volley and missed in the first half is something you can definitely not pin on him because that was a very difficult chance to take. But the second half, come on, and Mbuma had like two good chances in the box. He put his laces through a shot which was supposed to be side footed at the back of the net. He was near the 6 yard box, and yet somehow he thought he just needed to apply a lot of force on it. Another chance which like the ball just presented itself from the entire crowd to him, and he gave a very bad pass away where Ahmad was nowhere near it. I mean, in any case, he had an off game today for sure. And then I think what was probably the two best goals of the entire game, Marcus Tavernier and Bruno Fernandes scoring from direct free kicks in almost similar areas. Of course, one on the left, the other on the right, both favoring their feet. I feel like Bruno's was slightly tougher. It was much closer to the goal in that he could not have dipped it over the wall for sure. And the angle was also very narrow. Like he had to absolutely hit the top bin to get the ball at the back of the net. And that is exactly what he did. Like that guy just keeps delivering game after game after game. Otherwise, this club would have been somewhere in the bottom half of the table. Casemiro was much more defensive, obviously, in the first half. He did not have a lot to do with the ball. But when the moment came, he had that spring of two consecutive headers. I think it was a Bruno free kick where he headed the ball just saved. It wasn't very far away from being at the back of the net. And then the corner that followed in the aftermath of it was obviously scored by him. So not a very solid game from Casemiro, but I mean, he did end up scoring and unfortunately won't be available for the next game against Villa as he is now on his fifth yellow card. Talking about Ahmad, I feel like he's really quick. Man United is 100% going to miss his presence once he's away for AFCON from the next game onwards. But the one thing that he really needs to improve upon is scanning the field. And I feel like having players like Bruno Fernandes, who is quite simply an absolute genius when it comes to scanning the field and putting the right ball in the right places. Matthias Cunha, who's been doing that so often so well, he needs to do better. I mean, there's one point where you feel like once he gets the ball, he's gonna look down on it. He's gonna try to dribble past a couple of defenders, and he did that very well in the first half. He had that incredible chance where he was almost gonna score. With Ahmad, I think that is the main problem. You know that he's gonna dwell on the ball, and the defense also knows that, which is why they attack him in doubles and triples. And by the time he gets the ball away, everything is just slowed to a standstill. So that all that pace, all that precision, it needs to be combined with a quick first touch, with a quick ball away into the center or to someone who is basically in the counter with him, and that is something that I think he's lacked throughout the game. Kobe also looked much better than the obviously the little time that he spent on the field in the past. He had a few good turns, some bit of reminiscence to the Kobe of old, who was very graceful, like about the ball, some good passes here and there. I just feel like he needs more time to be able to contribute significantly to this side. I mean, see, with Man United, it's usually the same story every single game. They have these patches of absolute dominance. They do not score enough goals from that, and they somehow manage to concede the most silly, the most stupid goals ever. I mean, it is literally 3:45 in the night right now, and with this football club, you never know where they're going. You feel like they're leading in the first half. They put up a dominant display. This could be a 4-1, a 5-1, or maybe a 5-2. But I mean, it ends up Bournemouth being 3-2 up right at the beginning of the second half, and you're left wondering what just happened. I think Aiden Heaven today was quite good on the ball, but off the ball he was very average. I think two of those goals, his man just simply sauntered ahead of him. He was nowhere to be seen. And then when if you can like if you also spotted Mason Mount indicating to him to like close down on Savinho before scoring, it's just I guess it eventually comes down to a lack of experience or a lack of understanding as to how the positioning of like other defenders around him is. All of that debate around their formation, I don't care if it was a 3-5-2, if it was a 4-4-2 at the end. I feel like they were very solid attackingly. I just feel like that clinical ability is it has been killing United so often. Like there have been so many shots, so many good shots. They just have not been able to find the back of the net as often. I mean, their XG in the first half was like 2.6, but the one goal that they scored, which was obviously Casemiro's goal, was not a shot that would lead to a goal. I think 9 out of 10 times. Need to be able to put the game to bed, which is exactly what City did against Fulham. Like at 5-2, even if the game did end 5-4, it's always going to be that trailing mindset that you'll somehow hopefully scamper through. And I mean, sure, they scored two goals. Oguchuku scored two pretty good goals at the end, but it never looked like Fulham was ever going to draw or win the game. This game ended 4-4, but it was always edge to edge, box to box. It could have been anyone's game. And now, finally, talking about those end moments when every United fan had their hearts in their mouths. Senil Lamens came up with three saves, two off of Brook, who was brought on as a substitute, I feel like, after the 80th minute. And both of them, Brook would have been wondering as to how he did not score. The glancing header, of course, was slightly more comfortable. But the last chance, I mean, I was away from the TV. It was like 90 plus 9. I just felt like the final whistle was coming. And I took one last glance and I saw Semenyo passing the ball to him. And he had that perfect opportunity to make amends for the earlier header miss. And which is, I mean, he had a pretty good shot. He got the shot away. Again, in typical Bournemouth fashion, against the run of play when United were pressing for the win, they were simply wasting time. They had three amazing chances in the dying minutes. Senel Amens, full credit to him, despite conceding four goals. He came up clutch, and it is owing to those three absolutely critical saves of his that United's record that has actually stood since May of 1984 in every single home game still stands. The record obviously being that if United is actually led going into halftime against any opposition at home, they've never lost a single game. But I mean, hey, at least it wasn't a loss. And if you just think about it, 1984, that is quite some time, given the fact that we've not really been that good at home. I mean, honestly, credit to Bournemouth for just coming back from nowhere. Again, entirely against a run of play, they scored that fourth goal. Krupi Jr. is just such a clinical striker. Like, I was actually quite surprised that even after Evan Nilsson's return, he was not being started off the bench, but in fact being started over Krupi, who was so good in Evan Nilsson's absence. I mean, they were so clinical in their finishes. They had minimal touches in United's box, and every time they did, it honestly felt like they were going to score. Uh, this easily could have been like a 6-6 or something. Small defensive errors that accumulate and that accumulate every single game for United. Like these are basics that you need to be getting right. But just, I mean, end of the day, I guess it just comes down to game awareness, which this defensively, I think United still lacks quite significantly. I mean, look, I completely get the implications of this game. The fact that we did not come out of this one with a win is quite shambolic. It's quite embarrassing given the kind of performance we actually put up in the first half, given the fact that we are just playing the single game every single week as opposed to a lot of other sides playing two, and the fact that we're actually having those conversations of United being in the top four every single week. We have those hypotheticals where if United wins, if they win by a particular goal difference, they could actually be joined fifth, they could be joined fourth, they could even be convincingly fifth if they won today. But somehow the performance never backs it up. Alright, that is it for today. I just feel like all that pent up frustration, anger, which I'm somehow not feeling at the moment because of the excitement, the adrenaline. is just going to come out when we discuss Villa in a couple of days and realize that the away trip to Birmingham is going to be much more difficult, and a draw there might actually be the best result for us, which would mean we lose our grip on the top four. I mean, at least for the next few games, which again is going to be very frustrating. But for now, United 4, Bournemouth 4. What a game of football. See you. See you next time.